The ancient Romans took hygiene seriously. Everyone knows about their public baths, but their public latrines were equally ubiquitous. Remains of them can be seen in sites all across the former empire. The ruins of Ostia, the port city on the mouth of the Tiber just outside Rome, is an excellent place to spot them. The Romans were known as great unifiers, and in their approach to toilets there was no exception. Public latrines, also known as foricae, follow a similar layout wherever you find them. Seating, either of stone or wood, arranged around three sides of a room, as seen here in the forum latrines at Ostia. There were no cubicles or partitions. The foricae were truly public. You sat astride one of the holes in the horizontal surface, which served the same purpose as the hole in a modern toilet seat. Modern toilets, however, do not have this lower hole, which was to provide access to the sponge mounted on a stick, which was used for wiping. The sponge was then rinsed in the shallow water channel before being placed in a bucket filled with disinfectant, sour wine or vinegar. It was then left there for the next user. Not all public latrines are as well preserved as the ones by the Forum, but once you know what features to look for, you can quite easily spot them. These foricae, beside the Cardo Maximus, the main north-south street, have lost most of their seats, but the layout is exactly the same. Some of the marble cladding was carved. Here you can see a preserved section of seats and channel for the rinsing water. The type of marble used seems to have been extremely fine. At the Baths of the Philosophers, there was also a latrine. The drainage channel survives, but all but one of the seats have disappeared. Similar types of latrine can be seen all over Ostia, for example here at the Baths of the Seven Columns. Everything has disappeared here except for the central area of flooring and the trench on three sides, but you can easily imagine it clad in marble and provided with a bank of seats. It was not only bathhouses that had latrines. Plenty of the wealthier private houses had them too. A typical place to put them was under the stairs. If you see a ruin with a stump of staircase leading to what would have been an upper floor, then take a look underneath. You might see the remains of the niche where the toilet would have been. Better still, you might even find a toilet seat. Understairs toilets in domestic houses must have been fairly smelly. In truly luxurious homes, this problem was dealt with. Here, in the sumptuous home of the official in charge of Rome's grain supply, the understair latrine was attached to a nymphaeum. A nymphaeum was a sort of water grotto with statues of nymphs and decorative fountains. Here at Ostia, the water from the fountains was channeled through the wall of the nymphaeum and into the understair latrine to flush everything away. An early example of a water closet. People often ask whether the ancient Romans had plumbing on the upper floors. The answer seems to be yes. On Via dei Balconi you can clearly see the remains of a downpipe still clad in plaster. The downpipes would have fed into the drainage trenches in a downstairs latrine. Here, in the ground floor latrine at the Tavern of Fortunatus, you can see the triangular outflow. In the remains of the downstairs latrine at the barracks of the firefighters, you can see clearly where a downpipe would have led from the upper floor down into the drain of the ground floor latrine. You can also see the triangular outflows here and here. The firefighters of Ostia had a huge barracks, but then they were important people, in charge not only of putting out domestic fires, but of making sure that Ostia's huge warehouses filled with grain shipped to the port of Rome from Egypt did not go up in flames. They had two latrines, one either side of the barracks complex. This one is better preserved, and you can still see vestiges of its seats. A thermopolium was a tavern selling hot food, the ancient equivalent of the bar advertising tavola calda that you can see in modern Italian cities. The one on Via di Diana in Ostia is very well preserved, and has, in a corner, a latrine. The marble cladding has gone, but the structure is clear to see. The School of Trajan was named after a statue of the Emperor Trajan that was unearthed here. The ruins stand beside the Decumanus Maximus, the main street that leads through Ostia and out to the Porta Marina, the harbour gate. Among the remains is this beautiful marble-clad four-seater latrine. Ostia's public foricae were tiny compared to that of Rome itself. In Lago Argentina, right beside the ruins of the Theatre of Pompey, in the portico of which Julius Caesar was murdered, are the remains of a huge public 50-seater. Most of the remains are under the modern road and are difficult to see, but at the height of the empire, when this was in use, it must have been quite something. The Roman style of latrine is still used in some more rural areas, such as this example in Tesha in northern Hungary. There are some differences, such as the absence of a lower hole visible in ancient Rome, but that is because of the lack of a sponge on a stick and, instead, paper.